Hello everyone and welcome to the EV Geek podcast. We're your hosts Joel and Sebastian, and today's episode is going to be a quick little short one. Joel and I both drive older EVs that are now getting up there in mileage, and so we thought it'd be cool to kind of talk to you guys about what the cars are, any work we've had to have done, any issues they might currently have, etc. So Joel, let's kick it off. What do you have?
So I have a 2020, you've heard me talk about it, 2020 Tesla Model Y long range. So it's 2020. I bought it in 22, so I've had it for a little over 3 years. And in that 3 years, went from 27,000 miles to almost 90,000 miles in that time.
Okay, and all-wheel drive?
All-wheel drive, yes.
Okay, cool. So mine is a 2019 Chevy Bolt. I have had it for 2 years now. When I bought it, it had 27,000 miles on it and had just gotten the new battery pack as part of the recall.
Cool.
It now has 80,000 miles on it. And we'll talk a little bit. I've had a couple of random little weird things on my car. I'm sure you have too. But yeah, so that's kind of the inspiration of this. Joel's EV is now 5 years old. Mine is now 6 years old. And we're both at a semi-high mileage where people usually start thinking about, what do I want to buy next?
Yeah, think about starting, because the one thing with EVs, people start trading in their EVs when the high voltage battery starts thinking about going under warranty. So this car, I believe, is warranted to 125,000 miles. Yours is warranted till?
Mine is technically warranted till 127,000 miles because they reset the battery warranty when they did the recall.
Yeah, so with that, we probably have another year and a half of ownership with these cars before we consider trading them in.
So yeah, all right. I'm going to get the gimbal out and we're going to follow Joel around, and Joel's going to tell us about his car, and then we'll flip and talk about mine. So see you in a sec. Need a pair.
Yeah. All right, so we'll start with my 2020 Tesla Model Y. As we said in the intro, it is the long range. It is the all-wheel drive. Degradation. So full charge for me is about 280 right now. I think if you look at the map, if you look at the math within the map and things like that, I'm probably sitting at around, I think, 15% degradation. So nothing. It's still within spec. So I think these cars now, should be getting over 300. So that's what I'm like 278, 280 in a full charge, depending on what's going on. Maintenance-wise, the only thing maintenance-wise I've had to have done to this car is the control arm. So I had the one go out, the driver's side went out. It was still under warranty, barely under warranty. I think it was like 48,000 miles. Mobile service came out. They replaced not the front one, both of them. So they both have brand new control arms on it. It did have to go into the Memphis store, which is 2 hours away, for some sort of software recall sensor. I think it was a refrigerant sensor that they had to replace or something to recall. But other than that, no other major maintenance on this vehicle that I had to do. This is the third set of tires on this car. So when I got the car used, it was about 28,000 miles on it. Right at about 30 or 31,000, I replaced the tires with the Michelin Pilot Sports. I forget the names of them. Sebastian can put it in there too. Had those actually, I was surprised that I got about 45,000 miles out of those tires. Decided that when I got it switched out, I wanted to save a little bit of money. So I put the Toyos on it. The Toyos tires have worked great. A little bit more road noise, but nothing elaborate about it. Just some stuff that, some extra stuff I added to it. So we put these rear diffusers on it. So one right here on the trunk, one on the window. Also pretty cool, this is my second set of rim protectors. So one thing you know about Teslas is they curb rash very easily because of the turn radius. They turn very quick, so a lot of people curb those rims. I didn't want to spend, $600 to get my rims refinished. So for $100, $150, you can buy rim protectors. They go on, they go off very easily. If you damage one, buy another set of 4, buy a single one, put it on. So I've done that. Tint the windows, had a ceramic coat when I bought it, things like that. Nothing major on the inside, I don't think. Put a screen in the back, so for my kids. Honestly, never used it. We put one in there. it just sits there for them to control the air. That's basically all they use it for, is to control the rear air. They don't watch things on or anything like that.
Because they have phones, right?
Just like they have their phones. So why do you need to watch Netflix back there when I can watch Netflix on my phone, or my iPad? So it really doesn't serve any purpose. But I got one, put it in there, thought it'd be cool. But I did notice on that screen that I did install, after about 6 months, the USBs connectors stopped working. So I have no USB outlets in the back of this car. And honestly, probably if I get some time this summer, I'll probably just pull that off and put the original, piece back on that just has the air vents back on. But other than that, it has held up pretty well. No leaks. I mean, nothing major going wrong with it.
No squeaks, no rattles?
No squeaks, no rattles right now. I've been very lucky. I will say the first Model 3 I had, which was a 2021, I believe, I had it for a year before I got this one, it squeaked and rattled all the time. So there was a squeak and rattle in the back they could not find. It was somewhere in the rear passenger door or somewhere in that, or the seat. They looked, they couldn't find it. So I don't know, but you all know these cars, I'm at the rattle and squeak like that. But luckily on this one, it's held up pretty well. 2020, I believe, was the first year Tesla came out with the Model Y. So, and then I believe a year later they refreshed it. But yeah, it's held up pretty well. I'm happy with it. I will probably, like we said in the intro, keep it till the battery is about to go out of warranty. And then I'll trade it in.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to hand you the camera now, and then I get to talk about the stuff on my car.
Yeah, on your Bolt. So let's do that. Sebastian, tell us a little bit about what your ownership experience has been like with this Chevy Bolt.
Okay. So first off, it's filthy.
Yes.
Because there was extreme winds yesterday, and then it rained, and so there's like a bunch of dust in the rain, and it sat overnight parked outside at a car dealership because I was rolling around in a Sierra EV.
Yes.
So
big difference from the Chevy Bolt.
Big difference. I got back in this car and it was like, oh man, this thing sucks.
It's depressing, yes.
It doesn't actually suck. I think the Bolt is a good car in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So about my car, we've talked about it at the beginning. It's a 2019 Bolt Premier. So Premier is the top trim level. This one has all of the options you can get on the Bolt for 2019. This one, it just rolled over 80,000 miles. The Bolt's only available in front wheel drive. When it was new, the EPA rating was, I believe, 239 miles, but because of the battery recall, that got a bigger battery as part of the recall. So I believe the EPA range bumps up to around 260 with the bigger battery. It went from a 60 kilowatt hour pack to a 64, 65 kilowatt hour pack. Depends on who you ask. I think LG says it's 66, GM says 64, the sticker says like 60. It's weird.
We'll split the difference, call it 65.
Yeah. But it did get a bigger package, so it was about a 10% increase in range, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it sucked that they recalled them, had to replace all of them, but hey,
you get
an upgrade out of it. Yeah. And they reset the battery warranty as part of it. So like I mentioned at the beginning, GM typically does an 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty on these, but since the battery was replaced in 2022, it reset the 8 years, or 10 years. 10 years.
Yep.
So it reset the 10 years, so then it's, instead of being a 2019 to 2029, it's now 2022 to 2032, and then it was at 27,000 miles, so instead of expiring at 100, it expires at 127, which is pretty nice. So I haven't had any huge major issues on this car except for two things. Let's go talk about the first one real quick. You have to come around this side to see it. So right after I bought this car, I realized I would be driving down the interstate and it would start like violently shaking. And the only thing that would fix it was slamming the brakes, and then it'd be fine. And I kind of went around and around on like, what's happening, what is it, whatever. And it comes to find out it's a common issue on not just the Bolt. So because it's GM, there's a lot of part sharing going on. So this uses the same brake calipers as, I believe, the Chevy Cruze and the Chevy Sonic and a couple other models. And every single one of those models has an issue on the calipers sometimes where they stick. And when the caliper sticks, it keeps the brakes engaged, causes violent shaking because the brake is grabbing the rotor. It gets worse on the Bolt because you don't ever use your friction brakes. And so whenever you would use your friction brake, which on this is when you back out, that's when the friction brakes get used because it doesn't regen in reverse. And so then that's what does it for you. And I only really noticed it when it started getting hot after I bought the car. And that was something, physics, whatever. So I had to replace the front caliper. I did it myself. The part was 75 bucks. Wasn't bad at all. And then however much brake fluid costs. I did it myself. I only did the one because I looked at that one. That one was fine. And after I took the old one off, I actually took it apart and could see. I wish I had taken pictures, but I didn't. I think it was late and I was tired. Because you could actually see where varnish had built up on the piston, and that's where it was sticking. But My replacement caliper, within the first week,
Oh, wow.
turned brown. It still operates just fine. It's just surface.
Rust?
But I don't know why it turned brown immediately.
All the other ones are not like that.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is issue number 1.
Was this an OEM? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know why it did that. I probably could have replaced, like, done a warranty return, whatever, but it still functions fine, and it's just surface rust. So I just was like, forget it. My issue number 2, we have to hop in the car real quick. I'll get the car on, and I'll take the camera for me. Please excuse my car, it's a mess.
He has little kids, or a little kid.
So, issue number 2 involves the digital mirror. I'm gonna shut the door so it stops
Hi,
moving.
Sebastian.
So, the digital mirror was my favorite feature, one of my favorite features in here, except at some point it got condensation in it. And so now it just looks like that all the time. I have looked at replacements for it, but the module for the camera is like $300. And I don't know that I care enough to spend $300 on it when I can just use a normal rear view mirror. So those are the only 2 real issues I've had. I'm gonna hand that back. The only other thing I've done on the car is normal maintenance stuff. I had new tires put on right around 50,000 miles. I did not go OEM tires on this. So the OEM tires on the Bolt are the Michelin Energy Saver All Seasons. Terrible tire.
And
God-awful.
I'm assuming your original tires had the foam too? Insert?
Yes.
Okay, so did my new tires did not have the
And they
foam
were
insert.
self-sealing
Yes.
and all that. Terrible tires.
Yeah.
God awful. No traction. They wear terribly. The fact that they lasted 50,000 miles is amazing, because I'm in Chevy, I'm in Bolt owner groups, and you see people like, I had to replace my tires at 15,000 miles, at 20,000 miles. The fact that they made it that long is amazing. So instead I bought these. These are Pirelli P4 Persist All Seasons. It's a terrible name. It was a Sam's Club special.
There you go.
So the OEM tires were around $260 a tire. These were $160 a tire.
Oh, I'm jealous. Your one set, it costs as much as my one tire.
Yeah,
So.
they aren't self-sealing or anything, which is a little considering there's no spare tire on this car. But they have worn pretty well. These now have around, if I did, it was 50,000, these have about 30,000 miles on them. Still have tons of tread. They have the same efficiency. They're not any louder. They have way better grip, like very much improved. Those are the only issues I've had. That's the only maintenance I've done. That, and I did have to replace the 12-volt battery.
Oh yeah, so on mine too, yes. We did have to replace the 12-volt battery on mine as well. Around, I would say, it was out of warranty. So I would say around, on the Tesla, it was right around 60,000 miles, and it cost about $120.
Yeah, mine was, I did mine in November of last year, and I just went ahead and I bought find it every time.
Okay, we never go in the...
There it is.
Yep.
I bought an AC Delco AGM replacement. It was like $100. I did it myself back in November, I believe so, right around 5 years. And the Bolt was nice enough to warn me that it was going out, because it starts on the screen saying battery saver active, which in an electric car is kind of confusing messaging, because you think battery and you think big battery. But in this case, it was saying.
And a lot of times it tells you to pull over immediately, or
But in this case, it was saying the 12-volt. And the other thing you notice on Bolts when the 12-volt battery starts dying is the car just starts doing weird things.
So what's a 12-volt battery run on a Bolt?
So I paid about $100 for it.
So it's about the same price. So yeah.
Because I mean, it's just a standard car
Mine
battery.
was 111, 120 installed. So
but it is an AGM battery, so that it's more deep cycle and whatnot. But really, it's been a good car.
Washer fluid. Gotta put washer fluid in.
Oh yeah, you gotta put washer fluid in it, and you gotta wash it
You gotta
sometimes.
wash it,
I should try that. Oh, I'll talk about one other thing. This is not a mechanical issue. This is just something that annoys the ever-living crap out of me on this car. It's actually not that bad right now, surprisingly. The back end of this thing is impossible to keep clean.
Really?
Legitimately impossible, and it's because the back wheels are so close to the trunk. Anytime the roads are like slightly damp, everything that gets kicked up just gets kicked straight into the back of your car.
So it's a design flaw.
Yeah, that, and the second issue I have with it, the number of times I have hit my head on these stinking lights that stick down is
That
upsetting.
would be yes.
Because they're sharp, they hurt. But yeah, there's that camera module I was talking about. That's $300. So you see it's got actually 2 lenses in here. My reverse lens, which I can't remember which is which. The actual backup camera It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Works just fine. It's only the lens for the mirror.
So you have to replace that whole unit?
And you would have to replace the whole unit, and it comes out this whole thing. It's got a washer in it.
Oh, so it's just a hex screw?
Just one screw and the disconnect. So it's an easy fix.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pay 300 something bucks for. And I've tried to pay attention, like if I ever find like someone selling one for parts or whatever. But
they don't make an aftermarket
it's
one,
hard
or
to
it
find.
has to be an OEM.
And GM changed the camera in 2020.
Okay.
So the 2017 through 2019s have this camera module. The 2020s and up have actually the reverse camera is down here, and the rearview mirror camera is actually moved up here.
Okay.
And part of me almost wonders if they did that because they knew this was a faulty design. The world may never know.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna kind of do a quick little wrap up to kind of tell you if we would buy our vehicles again.
Ooh.
Yes. All right, so kind of gave you a quick little overview of the ownership experience from our car and the maintenance for the last 3 years. So the main question, Sebastian, would you buy another Bolt? When and if they re-release it, would you buy another one?
Oh, well, that's a different conversation because we don't even know what the new Bolt would be. I'm just going to talk about would I buy this again.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So, not at the price I paid.
Yeah.
So, they had already depreciated a lot when I bought my car. This sticker price on this when it was new was $47,000, which is crazy. I bought it, and it was 21 when I bought it 2 years ago, and I bought it within 6 months they just continued to fall off a cliff.
Oh, wait till you hear mine.
And now you can pick these up for like 10 grand or less, and that's before you consider tax
Our buddy
credits.
is selling one at Evolve for what, a blue one for
Like 6 grand. Yeah.
6 grand, yeah.
So I wouldn't pay what I paid for it, obviously, because in 2025, there's a lot of other options you can pay 21 grand for in the used EV market.
Yep.
However, if I look at the price that you can get one for now, for 6 grand on an EV, especially considering mileage and everything, it's really not that bad.
Because you mostly use it to commute to and from work. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. 20 minutes there, 30 minutes there, 20 minutes, 30 minutes back, yeah.
And that's, for commuting, it's been great, and it's got enough range, like you can do short trips, whatever, and you can road trip it, because it does have CCS, it does have liquid cooling on the battery, so it doesn't, that's the one thing is like, the Leaf exists and is also that cheap, but the Leaf doesn't have the active thermal on the battery, so you can only do like one DC charge stop in a day before you start running into thermal issues. This, you don't really have that issue. Yes, it's glacier slow at charging. It's like 10 to 80 in an hour, which is upsetting.
Watch our road trip video. You'll see what it's like.
Although you didn't win by that much.
I did. Weather. Construction.
Excuses.
Yes.
Because I went through the same thing, buddy.
I know.
Sorry. Tangent.
Tangent.
But yeah, if I was in the market for another like 10 grand EV, I would probably pick one of these over other 10 grand EV options. And I've seen people get amazing deals on Model 3s.
Yep.
But usually they're super high mileage.
But if you're looking to buy a car in a year and a half, the Bolt is re-released and it is a 30 grand car and your budget is 30 grand. Do you go with this, or do you go with something like a Model Y, or do you go with something like a Volvo, EX30?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy the refresh Bolt unless it comes out and it woos us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about it possibly being LFP and other things that could be a real like game changer on it, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And so that makes it hard to answer that question because we just don't know.
Yeah.
So Joel.
So for me, yeah. So like I said, I bought mine in 2022, peak of COVID, or when COVID started happening, and prices started skyrocketing. So these cars now sell what, 40s, 45, 47?
Oh, new?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or lower.
2 years. So this vehicle, 2 years old in 2022, was sticker price for $67,000. So luckily, I had some equity built in my trade-in. I ended up getting it for $60,000, but still, what I could get now for $60,000 it blows my mind now. And honestly, since then, a lot of other more intriguing EVs have come out. We didn't have, when I was buying this, I don't think we really had the Ioniq 5 or EV6 out yet. So they were thinking about it. I don't know if they had been released yet.
I think they had been, but they were still
they were still hard to find. They were hard to find. Yeah, my wife,
yeah.
we bought an EV6. We did. We bought her EV6 in 2022 in March, and it was stickered for, we ended up getting it for like $54,000. That same car now is probably $42,000. So yeah. So, but there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot to choose from and things like that. And back then, all I knew was Tesla, because I had a Model 3 for a year before I traded this in, because I needed something bigger for us to road trip in. I needed something to road trip in, because I knew my wife, who had an SUV, was thinking about going to an EV. This had to be a road trip car that we took. You know, we do one big road trip a year to South Carolina, which we break up over 2 days, which is not bad because it's only 6-7 hours per day. But I knew I needed something that had a good charging network, that was not great, but decent at charging. So my stops were only 20 or 30 minutes and could support 2 kids and 2 grown adults and things like that. And I would honestly probably say in a year and a half, even with the new refresh Model Y coming out, since there's so other more intriguing models out now, I probably would not buy another Model Y. It has nothing to do with Elon or Tesla or anything like that. I'm not anti-Elon or things like that. I don't choose my cars based on their CEOs. But I probably would not buy another Model Y unless it was just something intriguing. You know, would I possibly want a truck? You know, that's in the back of my mind. Would I possibly want to do something like an Ioniq 5? Since my wife is looking at getting an EV, a larger 3-row EV, would I get a smaller, maybe an EX30 or something smaller like that? I don't know. But probably I just want something different. And yeah, they're refreshing the Model Ys, but it's not a lot of difference to it. You know, the guts are pretty much still the same. You know, I'm not going to get it just because there's ambient lighting. You know, that's not the reason why I'm going to buy a new Model Y. So yeah, I would probably say no, and nothing against Tesla, because you know this car is great tech. It has FSD. Love FSD when we take our long trips. I just think I just want something different. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all valid, and that's kind of in the back of my mind. You know, I've looked at used Teslas too. Like, okay, when I do decide to move on to the Bolt, do I do a Model 3 or Model Y? And I don't know. There's just something about it. I'm just it's a little just too stark for me. You know, we're driving all these nice EVs and reviews on nice EVs that have buttons and all this stuff on it, and looks a little bit more luxurious, and then you have the Tesla Model Y, was basically just a screen, you know, which is fine for a lot of people, but I just want a little bit more out of my car than that. So yeah, and for me, it's like they're good, like they're great vehicles, right? But charging performance is average, range is normal, fairly average. You know, it's like
still 400-volt architecture, you know. So I mean,
like FSD is cool, but it's one of those things I probably would never actually pay for it.
I didn't pay for this; it came with it, so I would have never paid the $10,000 for it at the time.
So I probably wouldn't actually pay for it. So unless it was a free trial or whatever, I'm probably never going to use it. And it's just there's not enough to win me over once you start taking out stuff like that. That to win me over versus say one of these new GM EVs that has Android Automotive or a Hyundai Ioniq 5. Blah, blah, blah. The eGNP software drives me insane, but CC&C is a little bit better. And it has wireless CarPlay, and so I could just use that. So it's, you know, stuff like that. Or if I hold on to this long enough, do I get myself into something nicer, something a Rivian or a Volvo of some form or a Polestar or I don't know. I don't know what the future holds.
And the other issue we have here in Arkansas is major maintenance on this car is a 2.5-hour drive for me. So if something major were to happen, I gotta, you know, it's out of regular warranty. I did buy an extended warranty. I believe that covers the tow. I got to get this tow 2.5 hours to Memphis, which could be $500, $1,000. So yes, we have mobile, but we don't have a maintenance. It's not like you take your Bolt to a local Chevy dealership, 10, 15 minutes away, get it serviced, get a loaner car for the most part maybe, or they give you a rental or something, and you're good to go. You know, I got to take this to Memphis, either sit there all day, or it's a multi-day trip. If I can get it there, I got to find a way to get back, and then a couple of days later get there. That's just some of the logistics that play into it, whether or not I'd get another Tesla. Now, if there was a service center 10 minutes away from here, that may change my mind a little bit. But you know, 2.5 hours to get your car worked on, it's not really logistic.
Yeah, which is important to note. That's not Tesla's fault.
That's not Tesla's fault. That's a state fault.
We have state laws that say that you have to have dealerships.
It's not a Tesla fault, but it's just one of those things that hinders.
It's right. Just like how you can't lease in Arkansas. You can't lease a Tesla in Arkansas and some other stuff like that.
All right, so thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll love to answer them. Thank you for letting us ramble about our quick ownership experience. We just reviewed a couple cars. It's a nice day. We thought we'd make this video for you. Let us know what you think, and we will see you again on another EV Geek podcast episode. So long, everyone.